Welcome to Fixing Assets. You may be wondering where the Morris was last week, and the answer to that question is there was a lot of work to be done, but not a lot of stuff that really could be filmed without it being too repetitive and boring. So I've condensed it all into one short episode where I've been cleaning and I've been painting the engine block. Now bear in mind that there will be more work done bumpy road. There'll be more work done on other parts of the engine, cleaning and painting. However, it would be like watching paint dry or watching paint applied. Do all of it. But yeah, at this stage we're pretty much ready to start putting things back in. Marvellous. Right, so we've got the engine ready to clean up. Now we've got the crankshaft back. It's been ground down, it's like new again. So we now have to do a similar thing with the engine block. Now the footage on this is going to be a bit crap because I've lost my tripod again. So we'll get this, we'll make a start and get it cleaned up. What I've done here is I've sprayed some degreaser onto the engine. There's the degreaser there. And if I can find where I put it, I've got a nice brush to work it in. Right, it'll be somewhere. Okay, so that's been worked in. It's cleaning up, not too bad, but I still am going to repaint it. Just need to get as much grease off as possible before I paint the block so that the paint adheres properly. It's a lot better, as you can see, but I don't know why I was using the paintbrush to work it in. I got a load of those, so I'm going to do that again. Does seem a lot better, but you see the bits that were on the top are still quite grimy. So I'm gonna have tipped it over so I can get another go at those. So that's that side pretty much as clean as it's going to get. It does need repainting, and the area where the gaskets go here also need clean, but that I will use a blade to clean those, and I won't do it quite yet because there's a likelihood of over painting when I come to painting it. So that's that side. I'm going to do the exact same with the other side. This is the other side. It also looks fairly grotty, and hopefully we'll be able to get this back to how it was before, or how the other side was green. Right, so you can already see it's cutting through some grease. So yeah, you see it is much improved. The middle bit I haven't cleaned, that bit I have but haven't washed off, so it's lifting the grease. And there's that side completely cleaned to the extent that I can do it. So what I've dried both the sides I've cleaned off. What I'm going to do is I'm going to dry the other sides off, get rid of that bit of lino, and then we can start cleaning the other bits as well. I won't bore you about getting these surfaces clean, but obviously because they mate with things like this mates with the back plate, the front mates with the front plate, and there's a very important component called the cylinder head goes onto that bit, and the sump goes onto that bit to stop the oil coming out. We do need to scrape that, make sure they're true, and when we put it back together it'll be oil tight to within the tolerances of an A series engine. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start scraping, but I'm not going to bother filming it because as I said, I don't have the tripod. But I think we're getting to a point where we can perhaps consider painting this block. Okay, so I'm not doing any more today, but I've got that reasonably clean. I'm going over it again with a proper razor at some point. Smooth, you can see where the old gasket was. And I've done similar on this side as well, if you can see that. Then this side here I've started and I will finish, and the head's gonna need work as well, but realistically it would be better to get it painted, and then any over paint can just be scraped off at the same time. Okay, so weeks passed since the last video I took. Engine's now on an engine stand, and I've scraped the top. I've picked up razor blades because they are even better than Stanley knife blades at scraping. Although that's quite clean, the top. The back isn't too bad because I've cleaned those. The front is absolutely appalling, so I'm going to give that a scrape, and then it'll be time to give the engine a lick of paint. Right, so I've done a lot of scraping on this side and it probably needs a little bit more, but this front plate isn't essential just yet. I mean, to be fair, not all this surfaces that need to be scraped in such a manner is essential just yet, because we'll be scraping off some overpainting. So really what we need to do is paint the bits not under other bits of metal, i.e. the bits that are currently green, plus that bit there and other little bits, and around this side as well. So I'm going to go and get my paintbrush, my tin of paint, and get cracking with that.
So the plan is for this to leave it to dry overnight, and then where I've overpainted, scrape it off so that the gaskets have a clean surface.
So as not to bore you to death completely on this system, what I've done is I've actually cleaned more bits ready for paint, which is here. I'm not going to bother recording painting or watching the paint dry because I'm trying to make these videos as snappy and interesting as possible without making you fall asleep. The other thing I've done, as promised, is if I turn round and then I turn the light around as well, I've cleaned up the edges where the gaskets mount. They'll probably need another going over, but I've cleaned up where I've painted over. And if we move the engine around, which is relatively easy to do, you can see I've done the same on the top. So again, it probably needs going over again with the blade. And I've done the same on this side. So that block there is ready to receive a crankshaft. However, I want to leave the painter set until next weekend, because I don't think when the paint's still a little bit on the tacky side it's a good idea to start putting mechanical components in. My next job is going to be to order up the parts, and then next week we can start putting the crankshaft, the camshaft and the pistons back in. I'm also going to clean the pistons, but I haven't decided what I'm going to do that yet, because they're quite coked up. Again, if you like these videos, like, comment, subscribe, jump up and down on the spot, and rub a belly while tapping your head.